G'day, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at Suigetsu playing Viper on Haven against DRX in last night's lower bracket semi-final, I think is the official title. That's right, Suigetsu brought out the Viper on Haven, which was really unique and exciting to see. As a Viper enjoyer myself, I was really interested to see what kind of ideas that they'd cooked up. And to be honest, I wasn't disappointed, but there wasn't too much that was surprising. And I thought to bring the Viper in this sort of pocket pick kind of situation, I would have liked to have seen more out of the box stuff. So in today's video, what we're going to be looking at is why Viper was actually kind of one of the best things about their comp and also the worst things about their comp. And what that means is I think the benefits for Viper on Haven on defense are really, really obvious. The way that you can set up the wall and things like that. And we're going to have a look at that in a second. But her biggest weakness is also on the attacking side. And I think there's a lot to be desired for Viper on attack on Haven. But I think there's definitely some things that you can do to patch that up. So we're going to go through that today. A little bit of a different video. Let's see how it goes. So the first reason that you might see less Viper on Haven compared to Brimstone, Astra, and Omen is because Viper plays out a little bit differently to the rest of the smokers. The other smokers are able to be much more flexible in the way that they react to attackers pushing. And Viper, because of her localization of her abilities, i.e. the way that she has to throw her Viper wall from where she is and how it can take a little bit to come down, slides her into that more anchor position that you might see players who traditionally play the Sentinel role, play Cypher and Killjoy like Suigetsu and less, also play Viper, is because she becomes this real setup anchor type agent on defense. And so with Haven having 3 sites, that's one extra site that you have to gamble between putting your setup on. The one benefit that Viper has in this case is that she has her wall. So you can actually wall off 2 sites at once, and it's actually 3 choke points. And I think this is very obvious for anyone that's new to the game, or like even in bronze elo, things like that, is that this wall is value, right? This is awesome value. You get 1, 2, 3, you could even count this as 4 if you wanted to, count this as 2 different points. So that's massive value. And this is one of the main reasons that you might want to play Viper on Haven. It's awesome, awesome, awesome. So that's exactly what FPX did and Suigetsu did on Viper every single round, bar 1 on defense. And it led them to getting a 9-3 half. The other really nice thing that you can do with Viper is all of these choke points that are doorways sort of have like little ledges that you can put the Viper orb on. So you can put one here and that can be set up as a one-way. So Suigetsu chose to do that here on C site, blocking any sort of C pushes where you might send 2 players through here and 3 up long, and it sort of splits this attack apart for the attackers. So that's basically how FPX chose to set up most of their rounds here. Really, really nice setup. Okay, so the other really nice thing about Viper on defense, the benefits of her ultimate on Haven, I think are really, really nice. Combined with this wall, you get this really like hard to push through setup. You get this standard wall here, and then the Viper or ult. So you get to came and sat in this in one round. This is really reminiscent to me of like the bind be long ultimate, where you get this really hard, long, narrow point that you have to push through as attackers. Really, really hard to get through. And then also, and we're about to look at this round in a second, we get the Viper ult here, which makes it really tough to play this post-plant B sort of setup that a lot of teams will get in, put the spike down on B, and then just try and spam post-plant with bullets and util and all that kind of stuff. And the Viper ult effectively becomes one big smoke that you can protect yourself through so that you can get the defuse. So let's look at this first round where this Viper ult comes into play. So here we are at the start of round 5. You can see FPX have got 4 players here that are going to contest the early 2 routes to A. And then we have Chamber here just getting information on C in case there's an early C push. Now they are against the anti-eco here, so they've stacked themselves up as 4. Really, really nice setup from FPX here. You can see we're going to get early util from everyone. And then DRX realizes there's a lot of people A. There's probably a gap B. So they head in for this really quick early B push, and they get in and they get the spike down. A nice little one-way for Buzz to play off. He gets flashed out of that position though, so he retreats. And they drone themselves out, and then DRX fall right away, and they're going to try and play this heavy util. Now, I'm not sure. I'm assuming that RB has some mollies. That's why he's playing all the way back here. I don't think he's just playing flank protection. I don't think they actually come out or land in the round though. I don't remember seeing them. Oh yeah, there one goes. It goes in there. So the mollies have gone in. They do have lineups for it. And then we just get this Viper ult. And there's nothing that DRX can really do about it. It's just one big smoke that FPX are able to play in. They can just spam back out of it. And I think that's one of the huge benefits, especially for that specific B plant that a lot of teams like to do post-plant sort of util spam and plant denial stuff. It's a great counter to that because you get this one massively long smoke that everyone's able to sit in and play in. Back to Valorant for a second, because what we're going to look at now is Sugetsu's second setup that he uses in round 10. And keep in mind, this is the first round that is differed drastically from this typical triple smoke across B and A. And what he actually does, he gets this nice smoke across the middle of the map all the way through here, which also acts as a sort of smoke for the garage entrance, as well as a smoke to the entrance of A lobby. So I really, really like this smoke, switches it up. And now this is the one, this is a nice little thing that he does. So you can see the orb here is actually poking into sight. And generally, for those who don't play smokes, aren't controller mains or anything like that, here's the most fundamental basic rule of smoking as a defender and an attacker, or how you might want to smoke differently on both sides. As a defender, generally, you want the smoke to sit within the edge of the wall that you're pushing out. Because what happens if it's sitting out here is that the attackers can spill out this side, out here. You effectively give them 180-degree range to push out of the smoke with. What Sugetsu does here, he just puts it against the barrier rather than waiting for the barrier to go down and then throwing it down B long. And he comes and sits in this little corner, and let's just have a look at what happens. We're at the start of the round. And look how much value this Viper wall is getting across the whole expansive middle area. Really slows their X from pushing. They have to wait for it to go down, so they can't push through. They come through into garage. And they have this great push through garage, and look at this. So he gets to trigger discipline, picks up 3 and 4. It's such a nice play from Sugetsu to have that sort of thinking with the orb and all that. So yeah, really, really nice play. Okay, so let's come to what I really want to talk about in this video, is why Viper is kind of not great on attack on Haven, or how FPX potentially didn't utilize her as best as they could. They had a 9-3 start to the game, and they ended the game 9-13. DRX won 10 straight on defense, and they weren't really able to pierce through DRX's defense. So what did FPX do with Viper on attack? Well, they used this wall. Now I like the idea of this wall. I think it's a pretty heavy investment, but in terms of what else you can actually get out of this wall, it's actually not too bad. You know, it's free utility. They get the same every round. So it's a nice little default wall that they do. The main goal of this wall is to do what you might do with a Cypher cage or a jet smoke, is to cover this entrance, allowing you to cross over from long. Because generally what a lot of teams will do is they'll have their chamber or their jet with an operator looking down through long, so you can deny all of this space. Because if you're holding this space, with long, you can guarantee that no one's crossed. Then what that means is that you've actually got all of this space contained, right? And if they do decide to push on, you get an early indicator, allows you to fall back, and then your team can sweep in and try and get them in before they get to site. So they use this wall to facilitate these crosses, but they don't actually threaten it that much. I feel like it was just kind of there for the sake of being there, and they didn't really use that to push into sewers and threaten this aggression too much. And it's the only wall that they used on attack. They didn't switch it up at all. Not even once did they like use this as like a C long or a C attacking wall where you can like smoke off the entrance to sites. You can sort of deny logs play because the wall is in logs as well. And they stuck to this default wall. A couple of other things that they did, they had a couple of mollies that lineups from Suigetsu. They had one that would hit here. They would have ones for plant denial B where they tried to play post plant B, and DRX just shut that down completely. And so, yeah, what I would have liked to have seen is a little bit more of a dynamic Viper setup rather than just going to this default wall like every single round. Try and switch it up a bit. Maybe I don't even know if that's a good idea, but I would have just liked to have seen something that was out of the box. You know, maybe coming up here and like splitting the site this way, or, you know, even like, you know, you see this in ranked lobbies, like this wall here, which like allows you to get a quick plan. If you want to play that post plan, it means you don't need to take control of the site. You can come, get into site, get out kind of thing. So the other thing that I would have liked to have seen is more of these mollies. Like we had this one here and we had the post plant lineups as well. But like, I think one of the great things about Viper on bind, you see it all the time in the B executes, like Fnatic does it, where like these snake bites come out to deny these like really easily held positions on site and makes it like really, really hard to defend. Like you could even hit this and this, or like you could hit this and this. And the only one that I recall, I could be wrong, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But the only one that we really saw was this one, which I'll show now. So we are going to have a look at this round 19, where I think FPX has a really nice idea. It's unfortunate for them that they're on a save and Buzz just kind of goes nuts. But they also are really uncoordinated in the way that they execute this idea. It's not uncoordinated. Yeah, uncoordinated. Uncoordinated is the right word. They kind of just fumble it. So they get the Viper wall, that default Viper wall that we've spoken about, which gets them the cross down into long, which allows the artist to sort of creep up here. Artist clears that out and they all follow in. I don't like that only Shao ends up going through sewers here. I would have liked them to maybe split 3-2. As you can see, artist just dry peeks this first angle and they get sent off by the Prowler. So now that they know, they're like, someone's going to be holding this. Zippin stops, like as Spidey sense tingling, stops, doesn't walk into the op shot, and then artist like repeaks with him. But as you can see, now the Omen blind has just come in, and the nade, and a Viper molly. If that had have all just happened 2 seconds before, Buzz would have been forced off of the angle, and they would already have been up by now by the time that Buzz repeaks this. But then beautiful flash through the box just here. Stacks just flashes this and flashes the absolute daylights out of FPX. And you see all three of them blind. Zipan gets caught trying to get onto site. Buzz repeaks, pops his dash again and repeaks again. So just insane from Buzz, and Xiao is just now on his own in a 1v5. Like, what are you meant to do? Good luck to him. It does actually hit a nasty shot on Buzz, but then that's at 1v4 and spikes down on site. There's nothing he can do. GG's. Good round. Thanks for playing. So yeah, there we have it. Thank you so much for watching. I think it was really interesting how much value FPX was able to get out of Viper on defense and really set themselves up for a strong defensive half. But then the way their comp was built for attacking, DRX's comp actually really hard countered that. The only flash that they had was a pseudo flash near site, which is Omen's Paranoia. And so generally without flashes, you know, you kind of want to try and play a bit more rotations and get onto sites a bit more free. But the way that DRX set up their Killjoy turrets and their Killjoy utility really sort of denied any heavy rotating play. And DRX also flipped the map a lot, pushed up a lot through mid, and you know, really got up in FPX's grill and denied that post plant play with the Viper and the Sova as well. So if you're interested in like scouring through and looking there, I wish I had more time to do that the way that DRX defended in this video as well. That would be really nice to look at. But yeah, an interesting trade-off with Viper. You get a lot of value out of her on defense, but on attack, you sort of almost are just playing her as a gun in a fair few rounds. So if you enjoyed the content, please leave a like, leave a comment if you want to see me break down DRX's defense and why they went 10-0 on defense in this map. And also subscribe, and feel free to share this with anyone on any social platform. I'm trying to get my stuff out there. So really appreciate you doing that for me. Cheers. Have a good one.